So just to give a little bit of background of what we're working with right here is this Mini has, I think, 195,000 miles on it. And when it broke down on him, he had pulled the dipstick, said it looked like a milkshake, and he thought there was water in the oil. And it was icy and snowy, had it towed to a local garage, who then said, well, we'll diagnose it for you and we'll throw if it is a head gasket, we can do a head gasket for no more than it would cost you to tow it all the way back to where you live. And his dad said he was going to go ahead and take care of it for him. And then when his dad called up, he relayed to him that it had a bent valve in it. Now, when we went to go get it, they said, no, it doesn't have a bent valve. It just has water in the oil, blown head gasket. And at that kind of mileage, it's not worth paying someone like us to fix it because it's more than what the car's worth. So we got the Mini back in the shop now. And since he is now a professional mechanic, he's going to be tearing into himself instead of me tearing into it. And when we get it apart, we'll figure out just how bad it really is. We know there was some coolant in the oil, but we don't know just how much. And we'll find out here in just a moment. Oh, wow, I don't see anything right there. I was expecting something a little more dramatic. Wah, 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 wah. So when he put the oil drain plug back in, Righty Tighty started feeling a bit like Righty Loosey. Started pulling threads out, so we ended up going and getting an oversized plug. Dorman sells them, like this was an M14 by 1.5. Maybe when you walk into the part store, they won't always be able to tell you which one fits it, but I knew the size. And so this is what's called SO behind it. It means it's a single oversize. They also make some of them in size called DO, which is double oversize. So if you stripped it out, you can put one of these in, and if you strip it again, you can go to the double oversize. We can do a compression test here. 12 pounds difference between all cylinders from 125 to 137. So it's within 10%. There's no marks on the top of any of the pistons to suggest that they've tagged any valves. Just a little bit of carbon, relatively even coat of carbon, slightly oily. But at this mileage, what do you expect? So between the information I was getting on what had happened with the car and everything, and with the shop that looked at it, what they said, I just let him tear into it and say, go at it. It needs a head gasket, go ahead and tear it down. Well, now what we're seeing, we decided to stop and actually talk to him. What did this thing actually do when it broke down? And he said it went into limp mode, and that's when he pulled just double checking the oil, and he said it looked milky. But it was pretty cold out that day, it'd been snowing, and it hadn't been running for very long, and you could see condensation in either an oil cap or even in the oil a little bit in those situations, and so there's the potential it wasn't actually a blown head gasket. So I said, let's stop right here. I have a scanner that will scan cars up to 2004, and this is a 2004. Let's throw the scanner on it. Well, what we come up with was several low voltage codes. So what we're going to actually do, I'm going to have him go ahead and throw the valve cover back on it, throw some fresh oil in it since we didn't see anything in the oil. And we're going to go ahead and get it started up and check the voltage, make sure he didn't just have an alternator go bad. 14.2, what we want to see. That's the tensioner. See the tensioner bouncing? So here we are like a week later, and my scanner is just barely new enough to be able to scan this thing. It's 25 years old. So he's got a newer scanner that he brought in and put on it, and it tells him a whole lot more about what's going on. And between that and a bit of a search on the internet, we found that the low voltage and the multiple circuits can be caused by the belt tensioner bouncing a little bit, especially with the supercharged cars. When the tensioner gets a little bit weak, and the belt can start bouncing, and it can bounce just hard enough to cause variations in the voltage because of a belt slippage, just enough for this thing to pick it up and throw it into limp mode. And this is what it looks like. So it's got a big spring here, and then it's got the little shock absorber here. And these things are like $300, and of course it's buried down in here, so it's going to take a little bit to get in there and actually install it. But apparently that is the fix for the low voltage on multiple circuits. So he's going to get stuck into putting this on there, and hopefully that actually does fix it.